Okay, it's starting to rain a little bit, so we're going to get started. As you know, we've been working for the last couple of years on the barn renovation, and Dick Hawes sort of was our representative coordinating the project. And so we're going to do the dedication of the barn now, and it's all yours.
Okay, thank you all for coming to the grand opening of the Billerica Historical Society Museum. And as John said, this has been kind of a labor of love for 2 years. It's been a lot of work. A lot of members put a lot of time in to make this happen. And I want to single out some of the specific people that actually helped this occur, or well, we wouldn't be here today. And certainly one is the CPC committee, the town CPC committee, who's always been helpful with us, with not just this, but other renovations. People tend to think that the Billerica Historical Society is a town organization. We're not. We're a private non-profit. So we need to get grants and money and to keep everything going and to keep it in good shape. And we've done amazing work in the last few years keeping everything preserved. The barn was a dream that we kind of always had. We wanted a place to store artifacts. It's heated and air conditioned, so we'd be able to store, we have a lot of old clothing. It doesn't like heat and humidity, so this will take care of that and give a nice area to display artifacts. And this is going to be a living thing. It's an ongoing thing. And when you go in, you'll see that some of the cases aren't completely full, and we're going to be adding and changing, and we want to give people reasons to come back. We also want to give a big shout out to Representative Mark Lombardo, who's always been a really good friend of the society, and through his generosity, through his office, has provided the money to buy some of the display cases and whatnot inside. Some of the things that you don't see, but we've also done, is we've completely upgraded the computer system. We're getting into audio visual activity, which we've never done before. So we'll be able to catalog and we'll be able to keep things for in perpetuity. In people generations later, we'll be able to record people and get their impressions and put them on storage, so that we'll always have that information available, and it'll just grow as we get more sophisticated with it. We'd like to thank Rob Tuselli, who did the IT work for us. He works at Ingold, as a local company, and his work has been invaluable to help this come about as well. So it's a collaboration of a lot of people, and looking back on it, my point of view, 2 years, it seems like it's been an awful lot, but if you look at 2 years, it's not really a lot of time. But the main point I want to make is we want to dedicate this museum. And we want to dedicate this museum to a wonderful woman who was really the backbone of the local history of the town of Billerica. And without her, a lot of the people who gathered inspiration and have enjoyed the local history through the years may not have ever been interested in it. So she really deserves to have a memorial to herself, and she won't be forgotten throughout our history. So we'll open the door and we'll show you the final result. So with that, I'd like to invite you all inside and look around. The house is open for tours. There's plenty of snacks inside. And we'll talk to people individually. John's going to have a talk shortly about the history of the house, and we can just go from there. So hope everybody enjoys themselves. Enter.
I'm going to talk about the Clara Sexton House history. It was built 300 years ago in 1723, so it's the 300th anniversary. 300th anniversary. And so what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about the people who owned the house over the years and all the modifications that were made over the years. In a little background, it was around the 1650s when British colonists started coming to build what is now Billerica. In 1655, we became a separate town, breaking away from Cambridge, believe it or not. And at that time, Billerica included all our parts of Bedford, Carlisle, Tewksbury, and Wilmington. It was much bigger than it is today. And most of the people that originally started, and it was only a dozen or so families, they came from Cambridge or maybe Woburn. Okay, so on the land where the house is now, Jacob Brown sold it to John Stearns in 1663. And John Stearns sold 3/4 of an acre and any structures that may have been on it to Jacob and Rebecca Danforth for 30 pounds. And they built a salt box style house or lean-to. And the Stearns and the Pattons and the Danforths were all descendants, like grandchildren of the original settlers of Billerica. So they lived there until 1763 when the Reverend Henry Cummings bought the house, and he made extensive modifications, and I'll talk about those in a minute. He lived there until 1823 when he died, so 60 years he was in here. The house was bought and sold by a few people over the next 17 years. In 1840, Dr. Joseph Hill, a young physician, purchased the house, and he had been an apprentice to Dr. Zadok Howe, the Howe building. And he was also a descendant of one of the original families from Billerica. And he was followed by Doctors Bickford, Herrick, Bundy, Monroe, and Hubbard, and they lived there successfully through 1879. In 1879, Anthony Jones, who was a farmer, purchased it. In 1916, Henry Essex, who worked for the town, bought it. And finally, in 1920, William and Clara Sexton purchased the house, and they were already in their 60s. Clara Sexton passed away in 1936, and in her will, she left the house to the Billerica Historical Society. She had been a member and the secretary of the Historical Society, so she left it. So anybody can leave things to us. Okay, this is the Reverend Henry Cummings. He graduated from Harvard Divinity School in 1760. And in 1763 was a big year for him. He became pastor of the First Church, and he was that pastor for 61 years. He got married to Anne and subsequently had 5 kids, and he purchased the Sexton House. In the 1770s, he was an ardent supporter of the Revolution and had correspondence with many of the people you know from the Revolution. The 1780s, he was elected to the Massachusetts Constitutional Convention. In 1786, his wife Anne had died, so he married his sister Margaret. Margaret died, so he married Sarah. And in 1823, he died, and he's buried in the South Cemetery on Concord Road. Okay? And this is what a salt box style house, and I got this off the internet. This is John Adams' house in Quincy, and you can see it has a center chimney. They generally have 5 fireplaces, 2 in the what would be our parlor and dining room. In the kitchen in the back here had a fireplace, and these 2 bedrooms on the second floor also would have a fireplace. It had 3 bays. That would be 1 bay, the second bay around the door, and the third bay. And it would have 2 floors. And what they do, they extend the roof down basically to what the first floor is, and you'd have a kitchen in the rear. And that's sort of the way this house is. So, and this is the floor plan I just talked about. I got this off the internet. You can see the door opens and there's a narrow stairway going to the second floor, sort of like our house. The fireplaces in the two front rooms, the fireplace in the kitchen, and there are fireplaces on the second floor where these two rooms are. And this is the kitchen in the back, and on this one they show they could have had small rooms on the end. And I kind of try to draw a line through our house, say the original roof line probably came down like this, and you can see that window wasn't there, obviously that wasn't, but that comes down to like the first floor. This bay window wasn't there. So that would have been a window on the kitchen. That would have been there. And these windows wouldn't have been as long. They would have been more like the Adams house. Okay, and so that's the houses side by side.
So if it was a salt box first, did they cut part of it off?
Well, what they did, if you go up into the attic of our house, you can see where, and in this area, they spliced beams in to raise the roof. The original beams were spliced. The beams were extended for a new roof line and coming down here and added a whole second floor. And the Reverend Cummings probably did this. He added 3 rooms in the back of the house to what was already there.
So maybe the roof line went like so?
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I drew the line before. The roof line is sort of, parallel to that, coming down to about here.
Yeah.
Sort of
They
like,
made it higher? I'm sorry.
yeah, it went higher. See, if they did this on this house,
Yeah.
to make a second floor, they would have had to bring it up here and
Yeah.
come down like that.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Yeah. He also added a carriage house, a barn. And this is the barn right here. And it's, this barn was not here at the time. This was the original barn. And this is the kitchen back here. That wasn't here. So you had the original house, and this was the barn. And here you can see Richard McKay in the 1990s working on the interior and converting it to the room where we have our gift shop now. You did a great job. Okay, and this is the doctor's office. Remember I said in 1840 we had a number of doctors living here, starting with Dr. Hill. And we expect that he added this sometime in the 1840s. And has a separate entrance, and it's on the other side of the house, and you can see it. And that's where he saw his patients, and all the subsequent doctors who were there would see the patients there. They had a separate entrance. The barn was added around 1850. And this year, and last year, as Dick said, we restored the barn. The first floor is used for artifacts, the second floor for storage and for archiving, and we use CPA funds, Community Preservation Act funds, to do that, and Dick is going to talk a lot about that. And if you look at the wall over there, if you look at it, you can see that was the original carriage house. So we never finished that wall to show that was here first before this was built. Okay. Yeah. Around 1910, that's what we think, was the kitchen was added, the new kitchen. And you see, there's the carriage house, is the original house, and this was filled the space between. And around that time, electricity, indoor plumbing, telephones, and central heating were added. Okay, this is what the Clara Sexton House would have looked like back when Clara bought it in 1920. This is an old photograph.
She would have been proud.
Right. So what's next? It's going to remain the headquarters of the Historical Society. We'll continue to maintain and restore the house, and as Dick mentioned, we're a private organization. We're not part of the town. And we will continue to have open houses on the first Sunday of the month, except in cold weather months. So that's it.
One thing he didn't mention is this is an all-volunteer effort. Nobody who's on the board, nobody who works in these spaces, everyone here, and I'm not one of them. I'm just someone who loves history. Every one of the people in this room that's worked on this project is a volunteer, and this is a labor of love. And it's something that they do because they want people in Billerica to be able to experience our history and appreciate where we've come from. Because if you can understand where you've been, then I think it helps you focus on where you're going next.
Thank you. So, whoops. Step away here.
Okay, I'll talk a little bit about the bond. I think you heard a lot outside. The people that helped us to do this, to create it, it was 2 years of work. Over the years, like John said, the bond was added in probably mid-19th century. It fits the description and the way the houses were built and used at that time, particularly by a doctor. You need a place to store his carriage and have a horse. You can actually see this beam here. The stable for the horse was over in this corner, because you can see where the horse chewed on this beam, and behind it is a small door where they'd use to muck the stall out, the horse stall out, and get rid of the waste. Over the years, this had never been restored. The interior of the barn had never been restored. We're really grateful to the group of people in the Historical Society in around the 1990s. 90s, Alec, when this was the structure was around 2000. They did a lot of heavy lifting type work to make the barn stable, to enclose the bottom of the barn, and all the work that they did, although it wasn't glamorous work, it allowed us to do what we do today, what we did today. And so we're grateful to them for that. As a barn of the period, when we were thinking about it as a museum, we wanted to keep the ambience of that era of being a country barn. So we used a lot of rough wood for the siding. But as you look at it, everything that you see in white in this barn is original. That's original parts of the barn. And originally they were painted white because that was a good color, because the light was limited and would reflect light much better, and so it helped brighten the interior of a barn that would have been poorly lit by other means. Like I said, we were able to keep the ambience of the structure and keep that pretty much intact while we did the other things that we needed to do to make it look the way it does today. We worked with Robert A. Scott Contracting. He was really good. He helped us out a lot. It was a pleasant experience working with him. You hear a lot of horror stories, but he kind of knew what we wanted before I even said it sometimes, and so things went along pretty smooth. As far as the cases and whatnot go, you can see that they're not completely filled. We're trying to fill up with a lot of stuff we have. We have a lot of stuff that hasn't been cataloged yet, and we want to keep it fresh. The main thing is we want to try and keep it fresh. We want to be able to rotate displays through here. We want to be able to have different types of displays that people will want to come back and see what it is. This would be a great educational facility to be able to bring the school children through here at a certain grade level to understand the history of the town and to talk about it and to actually see artifacts. Personally, I'd like to see more artifacts that are directly related to the town that we can display in here, some of them on a more permanent basis, and let the story evolve around those. And we're getting into the audio visual era, and we'll be able to archive a lot of things and at a touch of a finger have somebody walk up, and if they're interested in some aspect of the history of the town, be able to go to a menu and push a button and learn all about the Middlesex Canal or the Billerica and Bedford Railroad or whatever it is they're interested in that particular time. The churches, organizations. Billerica is really, if you dig into it, Billerica is very, very rich in history, and it's very diversified. And it happens over a long period of time, whereas Lexington and Concord, their claim to fame was one day, and they're at the top of the heap. But if you look through Billerica history, there's a lot to be proud of. There's a lot to learn, and hopefully we can help with that learning and experience and make it more enjoyable for people as the years go by. Thank you very much. Any questions? Sure.
Yes, please. Can you tell me the amount that was used for this project from CPA?
$158,000.
$158,000
Yes.
compared to the how, 10 million.
Yeah. Well, you know,
That shows the volunteer work.
you're exactly right, and I want to bring that up because even with the first part of the house, restoring the outside of the house and redoing the inside of the house, a lot of that was volunteer work. We put a lot of elbow equity into to doing the things that we do. So we get some money from the CPC, and we're able to stretch it a little bit further. So, you know, our goals may seem a little bit lofty, but we seem to get it all fit in. And at the end of the day,
the advantage of working with a private
Yes,
entity
right.
rather than a public entity, because anything with the town, if it's a town building, then you get the prevailing wage.
That's
you
right.
can work with volunteers. So CPA money is best used with private projects.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that, and thank you very much. When the first settlers came over here in the 1600s, and this whole area became basically what was a farm for Cambridge, it supported Cambridge, and it was called Shawshin. And Shawshin was the Indian name of this area. And through the years, later in King William's War, there was a couple of attacks in Billerica, but most of the time they had a very peaceful existence with the Wamesets, who were the main tribe of Native Americans in this area. So it's been a very good existence in that sense. And we certainly haven't forgotten them. There's a whole case full of Native American artifacts. And that is also one thing that we're going to concentrate. It's going to be a comprehensive history, going back from the Shawshin days of the first English settlers and even prior to the English settlers, right up through the high technology of today. So we really want to encompass all of that. And it sounds like a big goal, a lofty goal, and we'll never be able to dive as deep into it as we want to do, but we want to be able to touch on it and make people aware, and maybe that'll light some sparks for them to do some research as well. So thank you very much for your comment. Anybody else? Thank you very much. I'm glad you're coming. I'm glad you're enjoying this, sharing this day with us, and hopefully you're enjoying it. And there's refreshments in the other room if you haven't seen them already. So.
I'm standing here with Alec Ingraham of Billerica, who is a member and a board member of the Historical Society. And just wanted to ask Alec, how did you feel when you saw that this barn restoration was named after your mother, the museum?
Well, I'm kind of speechless about the whole thing. I'm on the board, but they kept a secret from me. I didn't know that they were going to name it from your mother. She would be very proud. She was a lifelong Billerica resident, taught at the Hodges School, town historian, and she just loved the town and the history of the town. She was born in Billerica. Her father worked for the Clark estate, which was associated with the Talbot Mill. She was born in what she called the cottage, which is still there. It's off Mount Pleasant Street. She went to Jackson, which was part of Tufts at the time, graduated, and her first job was teaching in Billerica in the high school where she met my father. And they were married in 1941, and they had moved to New Jersey at the time because he was from New Jersey. And during the war, he enlisted and served in England. She came back to Billerica. She taught for a while, during the war, she actually worked at the Remington Arms, expecting 50 caliber ammunition. She also worked at a parachute packing plant in Lowell. She said she wasn't sure that she was very good at packing parachutes, but she left that job and taught in Tewksbury. And then I came back to Billerica, and with my father, he taught in Lexington, and she didn't work while she was raising my brother and me. But she did start substitute teaching, and eventually after my father passed away, he was the principal of the high school when he passed away, she studied learning disabilities and got a job teaching at the Hodges School for many, many years as a learning disabilities teacher. But she always loved the history of the town, and after Charlie Stearns left in 1992 for New Mexico, the selectmen appointed her town historian. And she was the town historian for, I guess it's sort of a lifelong thing until she really couldn't do it anymore, because she she fell and got ill. But she was always proud. She wrote many articles about the town. She went to many different little talks and things to school children because she loved school children because of her job. And I think she would be thrilled. She also was Citizen of the Year. When they had the Selectmen's Ball, she was the Citizen of the Year. I don't know what year that was. It was back in the 90s, I believe. They had the event down at the Elks Hall. I had a heck of a time getting her to go there because she said, I don't want to go to that. But she was recognized that way. And I think she just loved the town. And I think she would be very honored by this.
That's great. So tell me a little bit about you. You've sort of stepped in and done a lot of you really advocate a lot for our history in town now that your mother's away, and do a lot of writing and a lot of research when people want to know about projects like the Clara Sexton House. What drew you to history?
Well, I went to UMass in Boston, and I got an undergraduate degree in history, but I really didn't think I wanted to teach history. So I took a graduate degree in math, and for years I taught math at Southern New Hampshire University. And all the while I was typing all of her papers that she would write because she didn't like to type. She took a typing course, but my mother couldn't type. So I ended up typing all of her, because they didn't have computers back then. So I ended up typing all of her papers, and I became interested in it as well. Became a member of the Historical Commission, the Middlesex Canal Commission, the Middlesex Canal Association, the Billerica Historical Society, and I've been the chair of the Billerica Historical Commission for a long time. And whenever they have a question that nobody can answer, they tend to ask me. If it's a history-related question, they tend to ask me about it. And I sometimes know the answer right away, but sometimes I learn things through just researching the question. And I never charge for anything any information that I take on. I never do charge for it. I just do it as a sort of a public service. But I've been retired for, seems like forever, but it's almost 10 years now. So it's kept me interested. It's given me something to do. As they say, when you retire, you kind of lose the sense of having your job, and you need something else to replace that. And although I seem to have a lot of things, that's one of the things that I do to replace it. Diane Douglas has a question, she'll email me, and I'll know it's some question that she wants answered. Some are easy to answer, some are more difficult, but they usually are history related. They come to the society, and sometimes they're interesting enough to encourage me to write an article on the topic, and sometimes they put that in Yankeedoodle Times, which is the Historical Society paper.
Thanks, Alec. I think this is really the perfect way to recognize Margaret's legacy here in town, which, even though she's gone, is going to live on forever in this museum and also in the knowledge that she imparted to you, Alec.
I'm just speechless by the whole thing. I think she would be as well.